Takedowns and scrambles. It could have been a great Chumbawamba song in the 90s, but it wasn't. We have a flyweight fight between Tim Elliot, the former title challenger. Yes, that happened at the end of The Ultimate Fighter Season 24. He took on Demetrius Johnson and lost 49-46 on the scorecards.
Great fight, though.
Awesome fight. He's taking on Tagir Ulanbekov. And listen, Khabib Nurmagomedov last week, he was in the corner of Islam Makhachev, future champ, in the main event against Bobby Green. Tagir Ulanbekov has those high hopes. He only has one loss on his record. It's to a name that you might know, you might love. He just had a fight booked, and it is Jalgashumagula. But when I do look at this fight, for Tagir Ulanbekov, this guy has nonstop pressure when he's able to take the fight to the mat. When it's on the feet, he is an awkward striker that doesn't feel very comfortable when striking. He's taking on a guy whose handle on the internet is awkward MMA. And for Tim Elliot, we've seen the highest of highs. We've seen the lowest of lows in his win streaks. His losing streaks. It has been a weird ride for Tim Elliot in 2 UFC stints. And when I look at Elliot, again, this is a guy that when it's on the feet, he can keep his hands low. He kind of shuffles in. He gets hit to the head.
I was going to say, he can keep his hands low, but it rarely works out well for him.
He blocks punches with his face. We've seen fights where he's gotten rocked, but not knocked down. Like, he's had some crazy fights in the UFC. He's had, 3 performance bonuses? I want to make sure I give him credit where it's due against Papazian, Smolka, and Royval. Fight of the Nights. He had a performance bonus over Mark Della Rosa. But again, when I do look at this fight, for Tim Elliot, the guy throws leg kicks like they're going out of style. He throws quite a few of them. If you look at it, through his UFC career, since he's come back in the return, so from Demetrius Johnson to now, 24.44% of his strikes have been leg kicks. And that's huge against a guy in Tagir Ulanbekov who does not check leg kicks, who plots forward in a style, and who is a bad striker.
I can't disagree with any of those points. This should be a really, really fun fight because for Tim Elliot, like you would set up, he has reached the highest of highs, and lately he is sort of the gatekeeper. And I understand a lot of people put a very negative connotation on that word, but I don't see it that way because for Elliot, he's 17-12, and he's 35 years old, and a weathered 35. Like, he's been through the ringer time and time again because of his level of competition. And that's the thing, like, records are for DJs in MMA. That's why I like this sport so much more than boxing. Because in boxing, if you have 1 loss, if you have 2 losses, people just completely discredit your whole entire career. Whereas with Tim Elliot, we don't look at his 17-12 and think, wow, that's a bad fighter. We actually look at the 17-12 and think, hey, you've fought nothing but the best guys throughout the UFC, throughout both of your tenures in the UFC. So we give him the credit he does deserve. And that's why I like this great sport known as MMA. I think this is a fun fight, though, because for Tim Elliot, he has fallen off. I think that's fair to say. I hope people don't come after me for saying that because, again, we saw him in a title fight. I know that was a weird title fight because he had won the Ultimate Fighter. It was the whole season of champions. But he did look pretty good against Demetrius Johnson, especially early on in that fight. And he showed that, hey, I do deserve to at least be in the top 10, top 15. And he's not only getting the opportunity because of the Ultimate Fighter, but this is my issue with Tim Elliot. I compare him a little bit to like Lance Stevenson, and I loved Lance Stevenson growing up. He was good, never really great in his prime. And then you look at him now, and it's kind of wild that Stevenson is now in the NBA. But with Tim Elliot, it looks the same. All the things he's doing in the cage are the exact same. He just lacks a little bit of the burst. He doesn't really have the same level of durability on the feet because, like you said, he does get hit, and he does have a good chin. I'm not taking that away from him. But now when he gets hit, he gets rocked every single time, and that's what I do worry about, because with Elliot, he's a great grappler, and he's a great in-between guy, but when he gets rocked, that's when he can get out-grappled. That's when he can get hurt, and that's what I do worry about against someone like Ulanbekov, because yes, no, trust me, he's not a good striker, don't get me wrong, but like you said, I don't think Tim Elliot is a good enough striker to really take advantage of the holes Ulanbekov's going to leave him. I think he can out-volume him on the feet, but I really do think there's the opportunity for either guy to rock each other on the feet, and that's why I think this fight's going to be so much fun when it hits the mat, because both guys are going into this fight looking for a takedown.
Yeah, and normally when I start these videos, I'm incredibly positive about both of the guys in the fight, and I tell you the things that they're good at, and then I soften it by telling you what they're bad at, and then I finish it at the end telling you about the things that they're good at. That's the way that you form, your arguments and so on and so forth.
I'm half of the show, Craig. I've been here.
When I look at Tagir Ulanbekov, again, I haven't been impressed in his UFC fight.
I would agree with that, if I'm being honest.
He fought Bruno Silva to make his debut in 2020. He was a minus, 500 favorite. Didn't look like it in that fight. He fought Alan Nascimento his last time out. He won by split decision. minus 400 favorite. Like, he didn't perform like a guy that's justified as being that big of a favorite. Not that big of a favorite this weekend against Tim Elliot, which might come to a surprise to some people. But again, you look at Ulanbekov's overall record, 7 of his 13 wins are by submission. And when you look at it, against Silva, round 1 and round 3 are really, really close. When you look at it against Nascimento, it's the same thing. But Ulanbekov was able to have a little bit more success. So again, I look at this for Ulanbekov as seems to be training in the States for this fight at AKA proper, so it's interesting to see that out of San Jose. But his 2 fights in the UFC, 2020 and 2021, were in Abu Dhabi on Fight Island. He's never fought in the States before. So whether there's jitters there, whether it's a weird newness, I don't know what that's going to be like for Tagir Ulanbekov. But this is a big opportunity for him because he's not as young as you think he is. He's 30 years old at this point. So it really is sink or swim when you're taking on a guy like Tim Elliot. And again, when I look at it for me and Tagir, he doesn't know this, but it's like if I was cruising around in a Ford Windstar in the 90s listening to Shania Twain rolling down these Canadian roads.
Wow.
Because that don't impress me much, Matt. It doesn't. Now, he's an amazing grappler once he gets it, once he's able to figure out that first move, but sometimes it takes a while. And again, I started this video off. Tim Elliot throws a lot of leg kicks. Tagir Ulanbekov has candlestick legs like I do, but he gets kicked so damn flush and he doesn't check the leg kicks. It's so upsetting when I see such a talented fighter struggle with that in his fights.
The first thing I have to address is that in that song, Brad Pitt doesn't even impress Shania Twain. What makes you think Tagir Ulanbekov would if she knew who he was? Here's the thing about Ulanbekov. This would be one of those fights where I could see it being a massive coming out party for him because Tim Elliot, he is a very renowned fighter. He might not be the most famous, but if you watch these cards and if you watch the prelims of fight nights and pay-per-views, you definitely know who Tim Elliot is. You can't really tell the story of this division throughout the past few years without including Tim Elliot in that story. So I do think he's one of the bigger names, even outside of the rankings or regardless of his ranking. So this is a big opportunity for Ulanbekov. And honestly, I agree with everything you said against Tagir, but this is the problem. This is going to be a grappling match between these two. I think Tim Elliott's better on the feet, but I do think at a certain point he's going to have to out-grapple Ulanbekov for minutes in this fight. And listen, 2 years ago, could he have done it? Maybe. 3 years ago, maybe. I just think at this point of his career, that's a really hard ask for him to do, because I do look at this as being a 15-minute scramble fest between the two. And hey, maybe you look at that as being a strength for Tim Elliot, but personally, I do think Ulanbekov's going to be able to defend the takedown attempts of Elliott and really implement his own to where he's the one on top, because I think that'll be the key to this fight. Whoever's in top position is probably going to be able to hold that spot and probably be able to damage with strikes and threaten with submissions.
I mean, you look at it for Tim Elliott in the 5-on-in. He's lost 3 fights. He's won 2. So the losses, Askar Askarov, Brandon Royval. That was a great fight. Mateus Nicolae was last time out. He got out-volumed and outstruck in that one. The wins, Jordan Espinoza, Ryan Benoit. If you look at those fights for Tim Elliott, again, Espinoza, he had a little bit of fun in the UFC, but it wasn't against Tim Elliott in that fight. That fight was just a beatdown. But if you look at it for Elliott against Benoit, that was a really close fight. He out-volumed him. He was able to get a takedown. They both went for submissions. Against Jordan Espinoza, it was Tim Elliott controlling the grappling. Jordan Espinoza is a good wrestler. Tagir Ulanbekov is a great grappler. And so, listen, I hesitate with going all in on Tagir Ulanbekov. I really do. I don't think he's as good as the hype that's behind him, and that might be incredibly negative on my part. So
I agree with you. I just think it's going to be enough to beat Tim Elliott at this stage of his career.
I think it will be as well. So I have Tagir Ulanbekov in this fight, but I promise you, I would not anchor a parlay on this fight to save my life, because this could be the fight where Tim Elliott comes out. I wouldn't say surprises us or the fans with Fight Night picks, but surprises a lot of people, and then people get salty in the comments section. I like Ulanbekov for his grappling, because I think he can hold Elliott down, and if Elliott gets at all flustered with the striking where he has a major advantage in this fight, and he decides to initiate the grappling, Ulanbekov will have a field day with it.
I think this is important to say, though, and let me know if you disagree, please. You know how last week's main event, it was, okay, Islam, you're supposed to beat Bobby Green. If you win, it doesn't really help you that much. If Ulanbekov does go into this fight, and let's say he finishes Tim Elliot at some point, does Tim Elliot still hold enough stock in your mind to where that would change your opinion of Ulanbekov, to where you might reevaluate his future? Or do you think he is going to be stuck sort of outside the rankings no matter what?
We're outside the rankings. We're fighting Carlos Hernandez. If we lose, this is a big-time fight coming up this weekend. Let us know in the comments section who you have. Both of us reluctantly not even touching this fight. It's popping popcorn. We're going with Tagir Ulanbekov. Again, big time fights coming up on this card. In our main event, bad blood between Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal. You're not going to want to miss it, so keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say,
let's get into it.